Welcome back to Fire to Fork. Today we are going to do a Canadian national dish, I guess. Poutine. Poutine? Poutine? I don't know. There are like lots of different ways to say it. In Australia we say poutine because we're heathens and we're idiots, and I'm sure the Canadians will... Actually, Canadians are a pretty tolerant bunch. I don't reckon you will get angry. I've never really seen an angry Canadian. So yeah, well done. Fred is over there chewing a ball, and let's get started. Oh, I'm down at the beach today. Nearly got really bogged earlier, but got out of it. 6 psi and lots of right foot sorted me out. So, start with an awning. Bit windy, but it's sort of protected in this little hole. Whoop. Dropping everything as usual. And getting an old favourite out that I haven't used in ages, which is my Osprey Compact Bry. It's my favourite fire pit. I thought, I'm on the beach, I don't like to leave a mark on the ground, so I'll do it in a fire pit. Now it's overkill for lunch, but I just like using it. Oh, and the next episode I do, I will actually be camping. I think the kids are, well, everything's sorted out at home now pretty much, so I'll be able to leave for a night. And the allure of a full night's sleep without getting woken up by a baby is just impossible to pass up. Some firewood. I always bring too much firewood. Pro tip, when you're packing your firewood bag, make sure your small stuff's on top, because it's the thing that's going to need to go in your fire pit first. Get some tinder shreds. So these are like a fire lighter that they just light easily and they burn for ages. Zippo tinder shreds. You'll see I use them literally every video. So you can light them with a whatever. I'm just going to use a fire steel. There we go. That is lit. Probably didn't cut this quite the right length, but it'll work. And we'll let that turn useful. And by that I mean get down to coals. Ah. Which means I'm driving, so small ale, which is a 3.5 mid-strength. I'm going to reconfigure this whole thing so I'm actually in the shade. Be back in a sec. It's pretty good. That'll work. All right, kick things off. Preparation. So, I'm going to start with some potatoes. So I'll grab them. And we're going to do these as sort of get a bit of a double whammy out of these ones actually. Put some water in a bowl. Grab your breadboard. Fred's just buggered off and left me. He's sitting up on a sand dune. And we'll start by peeling them. And don't throw this away. We're actually going to use this, believe it or not. The trick here to get the crispiest chips is you want the freshest potatoes. So you don't want anything squashy and old and sprouting and crap. You want nice and fresh. Get the big old cleaver and start cutting these into chips. Some people square them off. I don't mind if they've got rough ends. So you don't want these quite fries and you don't want full pub chips. Somewhere in between. So probably talking about that. Oh, I'll show you. I'll make a fry, chip or whatever. We're in Australia, we call them chips. Now I don't know why we call them chips, because in the UK they call crisps, crispy little chips, they call them crisps, and then they call these chips. In America they call these French fries, which is stupid, and they call crisps chips. In Australia we call everything chips because we're weird. So I will say it kind of makes more sense differentiating. The only way we differentiate is through context. We would say hot chips or packet of chips or something. You can totally use frozen chips and do exactly the same thing, just without this prep bit. And if I was doing this at home, I'll be honest, I'd use frozen chips. They're bloody good. So we want to rinse a bit of that starch out and then find the lid, drain the water off. Now, the trick here is to dry them as best you can. So grab a tea towel or some paper towel or whatever. We don't want to leave these out for too long because they start to oxidize and go brown. So you can't like just let them air dry because they will just oxidize badly. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's get some oil on the heat, I think. Oh, actually, no. I'm gonna put these aside for a sec, wrapped up so they don't get too much air on them. And we'll start the gravy. Decided to actually remember my gloves this time. Move this in a little bit. So, gravy. Start with a bit of butter. So we'll probably go about 50 grams or something. And we just want to start by stirring in a little bit of cornstarch as that's melting. Not too much. Or corn flour. So if you want to make this gluten-free, you can just use gluten-free corn flour. And we're making a little roux here. So you stir it until it's all dissolved, and then you add a little bit more. So you can't really see that, I'm sure, but it still looks like butter and flour, but it will combine and sort of start to look like, I don't know, like a sludge sort of thing. Like a thick, not sludge is the wrong word, it's such an unappetizing word. Syrup. That's the right word. This is too hot. Now you can just do this with flour, but I'm going to try this as a gluten-free one so we can see how it goes. That's looking pretty good. And we kind of want to boil that down a little bit till it's browning. So while I wait for that to happen, I'm going to make some broth. Not broth, what do they call it? Stock, that's the one. Funny, it's been a while since I've used this setup. And I'm still kind of remembering where things are. So it's probably 200 mils-ish. Well, it says 180 mils. Get a little bit of, this is a stock concentrate. So this is a beef stock concentrate. You can just mix that in. Ideally in hot water, but it's going to be hot soon. I might actually up that butter. It doesn't look like enough. So let's call it 100 grams of butter. Now, if you're ever wondering how much to cut, it's got little markers on the actual packet of these butters. So it'll have a little marker here that says 100 grams. So just cut to 100 grams. So you don't have to measure everything in the bush. All right, let's call it 75 grams of butter. So that bit there can go in there. So ends up being about 2 tablespoons of flour to 75 grams of butter. That is hot. These fire gloves are actually on sale now on my website. They're bloody good, they're Kevlar. Best fire gloves I've ever used. I've been testing a version of these for 3 years and I'm stoked. Still tastes like flour. You definitely want to cook that till it doesn't taste like flour. I'm gonna go finely ground pepper, so adjust your pepper grinder accordingly. All right, that's nearly done. So I am going to do the bad bit. This is the bit that's going to annoy some people. And that is to prepare the cheese. In Australia, you can't get cheese curds because it's unpasteurized. So there's only one choice. It's to go the closest option, and that is a good quality mozzarella. We had pizza last night. This is left over. This is a ball of mozzarella. I want to cut that up into kind of cheese curd poutine sized bits. Tell you what, I'm looking forward to trying this with beer. And you don't want like bocconcini or anything. You want mozzarella, which is a bit different. So it's the one that's not in water. It's just the one that's just in a packet. And not grated mozzarella, whatever you do. God, that is a proper sin. Ooh, that's smelling browning. Yep, that's looking brown. So that's sort of custard colour now, I'd say. And the cheese curds are now this sort of size. So yeah, if you've ever seen poutine, you know how big the curds are. That roux hasn't really thickened very well with the corn flour, so I'm going to put some normal flour in. I'm going to call that experiment a bit of a fail, but that will thicken the rest of the sauce, the corn flour. Yeah, that needs normal flour. There we go. All fizzing and bubbling and doing good things. And yes, my car does perpetually smell like a barbecue. Tiny bit of water in there. There we go. That's suddenly thickened. It's reacted with the water. And that's gone really thick. See? So that's time for the stock. I might even be able to add a little bit more water to that, because I've got quite a lot of flour and stuff in there. So we'll call that 300 mils of water. It's just over a cup. That's tasting good. Yeah. Bit more pepper. And need some salt. Look, you can definitely just use like Gravox or, oh, that's empty. Gravox or whatever, like an instant gravy, but it's always better to make your own. You gotta be kidding me. I'm completely out of salt. So I'm gonna have to do, that's wild, I can't believe that. All I've got that's salty, really salty, is dark soy. So this color is gonna be crazy. Dark soy is renowned for having an incredible impact on the color of things. So this poutine's gonna be quite a dark sauce. Look at that. Actually looks kind of right, to be honest. The soy flavor will be good. It's a bit of umami and a bit of salt. And yes, they are different flavors. Get weird comments like that. That's tasting really good. All right, I'm just gonna let that plod along there and we'll get onto the fun bit, the chips. Get a pan. So I've just got a stainless steel one, and we are gonna we need some oil. And if you've watched my ultimate steak and chips video, you'll know I had a lot of Wagyu fat. I still got it. Which, if I'm gonna fry some chips, I may as well use the best stuff out there. So you do not need to do this. You can just use any kind of a flavorless oil, but if you can be bothered going to the butcher and getting some beef fat, it's not expensive, and making your own Wagyu, no, not Wagyu, beef tallow or beef fat, melting it down so that you can use it for frying, man, the chips are so good. I wish I had salt right now. It hurts. But it wouldn't be a Fighter Fork episode if I didn't forget something, so it's just that, thank God we've got lots of salty things to put on the chips, because the chips themselves will have no salt on them. Touch more soy. Now for temperature, you can do a whole bunch of different things to work out when your oil is ready. I like to use these little infrared thermometers because they're just useful and very accurate. You can use a meat thermometer, but again, you've got to hold your hand in there. Or the traditional Chinese way is you just get a chopstick or just a piece of wood and put it in. When it boils, it should be at about 160 degrees. But if you know me, I don't care about 160 degrees. I like to throw my chips in when it's a little bit cooler and then get it up to 160. And yeah, I'll definitely be reusing that. That will be filtered back into that main thing. We might even be able to get away with basically a deep fry on this, because as they fill the pan, the oil level's getting nice and high and pretty much covering them all. All right, that sauce, I don't want that to cook anymore. I'll put that off to the side to keep warm. Big dodgy plate. I should have really have brought one of my good ones, my bare bones nice ones, but I didn't, so here we are. It's fun using my own little just the back of the car. It's been a while. So by doing this, putting them in a little bit cooler, you don't have to worry about time. So some people say like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever. You just do it till they're the right color. You want them, take them out slightly lighter than the color you want them finally at, because they will brown up when you pull them out because they oxidize. I better get some green shit for this, make it look borderline healthy. Some very sad looking spring onion. That'll do. All right, so that's at 185 now. So 180 is kind of about the right temperature, so these will be cooking perfectly. And I think 180 in American is 350 Fahrenheit. Oh no. My paper towel's gone. Oh. Ah. Got my paper towel that blew away. All right, these chips are looking pretty good. It's actually been a few minutes and I'll explain why, but it was my mistake, basically. chuck those onto this bit of paper towel over here. You can just use tongs or whatever, you don't need one of these deep fryer things, but if you are going to do this a couple of times, these are like $2. So basically, there's a small mark on the screen of my thermometer, and that mark makes 100 degrees look like 180 degrees. So I thought I was frying these at 180 degrees, and I was frying them at 100. So it took like, sitting there for like 5 minutes being like, what the hell, why aren't these cooking? They're not cooking because they're not hot enough, basically. So, chuck those in there. Take them off to the side. Let's get these skins and throw them in the actually hot oil. Don't need all of them. And quickly crisp them up. So, get this stuff. I'm going to put the cheese on. Oh, it's starting to look like Poutine. Putin, as in like the angry Russian? Is that the pronunciation? Right, I might warm that up a little bit. And I'm going to keep this warm here. Oh, much more. Oh, that's hot. Actually hot already. That's good. So, get some of this on. It's obviously very hot on that plate because the gravy's bubbling. Okay, crispy bits. This is not at all traditional, and I don't care because I think it's good. The thing is that poutine doesn't end up being very crispy because the chips get covered in liquid. So I thought it'd be good to put something crispy on top. I just wish I had salt. Cool that down roughly. Okay. Green stuff. Not over the top. Oh, super crispy. B-roll, let's eat it. This is one of the few types of chips you really have to eat with a fork. Otherwise you just end up covered in stuff. So chips, I'm actually drooling. Chips, gravy, crispy bits. Do a tiny bit more salt, and other than that, it's perfect. I mean, look, cheese curds are better, but this does an extremely good job of scratching that itch. Add these. Great addition. Does it go well with beer? Oh god, yes. Oh god, yes. Yes, 100%. 1,000 times yes. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you're Canadian, let me know how I screwed it up. Cheers.